What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? This is Min from Architecture Inspirations. Today I'm going to show you my process of modeling a contemporary kitchen in V-Ray 3.6 for SketchUp. Let's get started. So this video is a little different from the usual videos on my channel. This is not a step-by-step tutorial, but rather a narrated time-lapse of my workflow. Because if I were to show you a full tutorial with detailed instructions, it would take forever. So I hope you guys would understand. Also, some of the work that I've done in the beginning wasn't recorded, and there are parts that I have to cut out to make it shorter, so bear with me, but there is still a lot of content for you to watch. So here you can see that I am modeling the main cabinets for the kitchen. And I'm also importing objects like the microwave and the range oven. Here I'm just applying the materials of the range. Usually I try to use the material that are in the V-Ray materials library as much as possible. When I'm done with that, I can do a test render and export a proxy. Then import that to my kitchen model. I will definitely show you guys a step-by-step tutorial on how to use proxy later. Here I'm continuing to model the cabinets on the right. This will be a tall standing cabinet. Also, I like to point out that the design of this kitchen was based off a design I found on houzz.com, so full credits go to them for the design. And that's something you should consider whenever you're practicing your rendering and modeling skills. Try using references of real projects if you are not sure how to design it. Even if you do, it's still good for inspirations. Now I'm going to import a model of a refrigerator that I found online. So for this one, I actually don't have to use a proxy because the model wasn't too heavy. I can just import it directly and start applying my materials. Here I'm modeling the whole room. I usually make it a little bit bigger than it actually is to make it easier to navigate when I'm inside the room. Then I decided to add a rectangle light here to see how it looks. Next, I'm going to model the island of the kitchen. thought having an apron sink would be nice. If you don't know what an apron sink is, it looks like this. After that, I import a model of the kitchen faucet. Now I'm modeling the base of the island. Try using components whenever possible to make your modeling process faster. So if you look closely, the edges of my objects are actually rounded to make it look more realistic when rendered. I explained how to do this in a previous video, so check that out if you haven't yet. Also, try to leave a small gap between geometries to have more definition when rendered. Everything's looking good so far. So at this part, I felt like the island was a little too big, that's why I'm just making it smaller. Now I'm just adding some shells on the corners of the island. And some more details on these outside panels of the cabinets. You can see that I tried to make all the objects have round corners for the realistic look. Try to reuse your objects whenever possible and learn to make use of it, even if you need to make changes to those objects. If you are efficient at making adjustments, it's faster to turn that object into a new one than to create one from scratch. the door. Here I'm using the move tool and arraying lines to make a grid for my door. Then I would make one of these panels into a component, then make copies of it. That way, whenever I edit one, I'm editing all of them. I usually like to keep my geometry separate to make it easier to edit later, like the glass and the frame of the door here. Also, try flipping the object so that they are symmetrical when you make changes. Here I'm adding more details to the door. Now I'm going back in to change the handles on my drawers. And this is why using components are so useful. And I'm changing the doorknobs as well. Here I'm going to apply a gold material to the sink faucets and the cabinet hardware. Now I'm using the viewport region render tool to test render the materials on those objects. Then I'm going to apply a dark blue color to these cabinets. As you can see, applying materials to groups and components make it so much easier. This is where I model the backsplash for the range. The tile material is actually from Polygon.com. If you want to learn how to create realistic materials, then check out my video on that topic. Time to add some marble materials for the countertops. Now I'm going to start adding some decorations, starting with these bowls here. And make sure your objects are at the right scale. I'll add some plates here as well, and a pot on the stove. Next, I'll add some light pendants above my island. And I'll also add some reset scan lights on the ceiling. Here I'm modeling a baseboard. You can easily do this by using the Follow Me tool on a molding profile. Try to be very meticulous about the placement of your objects in the model to make everything look realistic, just like what I'm doing with the cutting board here. If you have time, try to add more decorations to your model to make it more lively. And don't be afraid to move things around. Sometimes it might be better for the overall composition. Again, check the scale of your objects. Here, I'm actually realizing that some of my objects are a little bit off scale, especially the books, so I'm just resizing them. Whenever you set up your objects, don't have them line up so perfectly. It's good to move them around a little to show the imperfection in your scene and make it more realistic. Always try out different materials for decorations to make it more interesting. Here I'm modeling my artworks. If you have photos that you took, like this photo I took in Philadelphia, feel free to add them into your scene to make the model truly yours. Here's another photo I took in Vancouver. On the outside, I'm going to add a dock because I will be adding an ocean in the background of my rendering. And I'll show you that in another video on the post-production process in Photoshop, which will come out real soon. And that is all for today, guys. If you want this model, make sure to sign up on my Patreon before the end of the month and you will get all the files for $5. After that, it will be on Gumroad for $10. So leave a like if you guys enjoyed the video, comment below if you have any questions. Stay inspired, guys, and I'll see you next time.